Welcome to the Polysec Podcast. This is your host, Anthony Lindsay.
And Stephanie Marino.
We're here with Judd Kaminski. All right, Judd, we have some questions for you.
Yes. So my first question is, how do magnet schools compare to the traditional public schools? And are there distinct advantages to running a magnet school?
Well, we have a more diverse course offerings than a typical school by having the magnet status. We offer this because we have been offered and received government funding that have enabled us to implement and put in place a more diverse curriculum. So as a result, we have quite a bit more offerings than the traditional public school, and the advantages are students have a wide variety of choice as they monitor through the academic aspect of their high school career.
Okay.
So you give them more choice in what to pick, what they want to learn?
They can actually specify and take courses that are not offered at any other school in Brevard County in some instances. We have pathways that include, and I'll certainly list them all if you'd like to hear them, applied robotics, computer programming, game design and simulation, criminal justice, technological design, culinary arts, digital media and TV productions, patient care assistance, fashion technology and design, building construction, and early childhood education. So those are some of the offerings. Several of those are unique only to my school in this county. Others are offered sporadically, but not at every school like we do.
Huh. So that's really interesting because I went to a Henrico High School, and it had almost the same thing where it's like you got to choose the pathway that you wanted to go down, and it had a huge advantage because I do not like math. I very, very much like liberal arts, and even if that means that I have to study poetry, that's fine as long as I can be away from math. And I got to choose, like, I want to go down this path, and it led me to going into political science and into the liberal arts. So, like, that's got to be a huge advantage for your students.
Absolutely, and a lot of the a lot of these will have industry course certification that is an option as they proceed through the program. So if they could graduate with a high school diploma, but then they could turn around and have, for instance, a industry certification in culinary or in construction, and that makes them more marketable when they enter the workplace if they choose to jump right into career ready instead of the college component.
Well, that's perfect because I was looking at what it would take to become a chef because I go down these weird rabbit holes. So I got obsessed with kitchen nightmares. So I was like, well, how do you actually become a chef? And it takes 4 years of culinary arts school after you complete your high school diploma. But I would imagine for a school like yours, you could get a huge jump start on that and start it while you're in high school. And then you jump into maybe 1 year after, or maybe you don't even have to go to culinary arts school. Maybe you go straight over to Italy and start learning from a chef. So then I imagine you could apply that.
Absolutely.
You could apply that to every program.
Well, they make themselves so much more marketable because my student is competing against you, but my student has industry certification that they can pad their resume with, whereas unfortunately a lot of people haven't had the opportunity. So it's certainly an advantageous opportunity for someone going through those kind of course study emphasis here.
That's brilliant. And speaking of vocational studies, there was we spoke to a principal, Bo Griffin, in Memphis, and he was talking about the forklift operations. He was teaching students to drive a forklift as one of the classes. And right down the street was a Nike factory where the students would get paid $22 an hour, and it was like the greatest thing in the world because the Nike factory didn't even know the school was there. So it's like he shook hands, and all of a sudden, several of his students had a job. It's amazing.
This great partnership. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So magnet schools refer to the fact that students are drawn to the school from across traditional school boundaries. What are some of the qualifications that a student must have to matriculate into your school? And are there, once they get into the school, are there further aptitude testing to see where, if maybe their choices match up with their aptitudes?
Well, we give them the opportunity of choice, and that's one of the biggest things that is a draw. And we do a lot of marketing to put out things like I just mentioned, all those different opportunity pathways. And as far as joining us here, if you are a student that is not zoned for my school, but you say, you know what, I'm really interested in game design and simulation, which my school happens to be the only one in Brevard County that offers, at that time, you could fill out a magnet application, and the magnet application is very open-ended, meaning it doesn't have any minimum requirements other than, the student have the basic requirements that they have to apply. They have to be a resident of the county and be able to, have their appropriate immunizations and stuff. But there's no minimum requirement, and they could step right into any of these pathways, and then they have these windows of opportunity that go, and the application's free. So it's quite a draw for them, because if they come over here and they make a decision that they want to go one way, and then they say, I'm not sure that's what I want to do, well, we can make a mid-year switch or diverse a little bit in our scheduling process to allow them the opportunity to find their niche, per se, as they move through a study.
I think that's very integral, because if I don't like a specific field or a specific curriculum, or I feel that this is not going to apply to me at all, I'm not going to be interested in the classes that you offer me, no matter how good of a student I am in one field. Like, if you're teaching me something completely different than what I want to learn, then I'm not going to be interested. And then maybe I don't want to go the traditional route. Maybe I want to be a mechanic. Maybe there's a specific path that is completely different than what you're teaching me. Then I'm going to check out. And I think that offering the option is very imperative.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I think that we try to evaluate it in the sense of, let's face it, lots of students, when they get into a university, they don't necessarily know what they want to be, and they shift gears as they go along. So we kind of have tried to make an effort towards modeling it towards selection and opportunity and exposure. And when we get all our ninth graders in, we have a class that we offer and make it a ninth grade requirement called Magnet Pathways. And the teachers of that class take little snapshot visits to all these different courses of study throughout the school and expose the students to those as part of their curriculum, so that these students have the opportunity to see these things, because it certainly invokes thought, discussion, and offerings that maybe people didn't even know existed.
So how do Brevard schools prepare students for secondary education?
They have obviously basic graduation requirements. They also offer the industry certification component, which is reflective of some of those courses that I spoke of earlier, where they could actually gain, and students are not restricted to a single, but they could rather gain multiple certifications in various areas as they proceed.
Oh, that's cool.
We also here, as well as in Brevard County, offer advanced placement classes. Various schools in the district have varying courses of study. We choose on the upper level for advanced placement, also referred to as AP, to be a large component. We offer 18 individual AP courses here at my school.
Nice.
As well as dual enrollment and early admissions with the local college, Eastern Florida State University. So some of the preparedness is these upper level classes, this diversity towards dual enrollment and even early admission components here while they're still at the high school. We have quite a few students annually that graduate both with their high school diploma as well as their AA at graduation from high school.
Wow. So I took AP classes when I was in high school, but my mom, she took the early admission. So she actually spent like half of her day in high school and the other half of her day at a university, at the local university. I think UDC,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken. So what route do your students typically go? Because I took one AP class thinking that I was just going to crush it. I was good at history, so I took AP history, and I got halfway through, and I was like sitting on like a C-, which was that's an F. That's an F in my household. So I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of this. I have to drop this. Like, I have to get out of here. So which route do your students typically go? Do they take AP? Do they do half enrollment in a university? What do they do?
They do a little bit of everything. There's really no recipe for success with our students, and we offer as a direct complement the whole industry certification of college and career ready, because there is a large percentage of students, not just at my school but in the district, that aren't sure they want to go to college, and and these industry certs, whether they're going in the military or whatever, whichever way, right straight into the workforce, those options certainly exist for them. With us having varying components, whether they can do early admissions, they can do dual enrollment, we actually have a bus that transports students during the course of the day so that they can go off campus, take part of theirs, and then come back to our school. So they're doing half and half like you spoke of. We actually also have students that are early admissions in the sense that they don't take a single class here, but are still enrolled, but have already met their high school requirements for their senior year, and they spend all day, every day at the university, but still come back and participate in extracurricular activities.
So I had in Bladensburg High School, you could finish early, but I think you would finish out with either a work study or a study hall. So like you would kind of like, I don't know, you would have a half schedule, but it would be nothing left for you to do, except you could go out and get a job if you wanted to and spend half the day like earning money, which was kind of cool, but it definitely left something on the table. Versus like your school where it's like, hey, you know what? You're finished here. You want you to go and grab your associate's degree before you get out of here. That's awesome. Because I spent way too much time in undergrad. I think I spent like an extra year and a half, 2 years in undergrad because I was working at the same time. So if I were able to chop off a year or two in high school, that would have been the bee's knees.
So did you always see yourself in academia? And what's next in your career?
At this point, I'm not totally sure. I upon becoming a teacher, decided that I wanted to lead a school and become more involved. So I have taken all the necessary steps going through the procedures as an assistant principal and becoming a principal. And I don't know. The goal was always to become a principal of a school. And now that I'm here, there is so much work to be done that I still haven't had time to think about, is there a next step, because I see room for improvement and growth all the time with my particular school.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got a unique advantage here at the school that I'm the principal of because I actually attended this school as a student in high school and graduated from here. So the vested interest is quite substantial on my end.
So where do you stand on the whole like growth versus proficiency argument that has kind of like been brought to the forefront of education? Like, do you feel that like students should you should measure student achievement through growth and how much they improve throughout the year? Or should it be, well, you're on the 12th grade level and 95% of our students are on the 12th grade level, so we're good? Like, should we measure it via growth or proficiency?
I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on the whole thing. I've got a unique population here. I've got a very high, low socioeconomic student percentage. So, for me personally, I think you've got to look at the level of individual learners that you go, because there's certainly a case that can be made for students that are showing marked improvement as they proceed, and as compared to their past results. But maybe this isn't the student that is as I spoke of, the full-time taking 6 or more AP courses during their time, or maybe they're not the dual enrolled student. But I think that's part of the uniqueness of the magnet status in the program, because I can find something for everybody here, and I can make a student not feel inferior because maybe he or she has not decided that college is in their realm, but they certainly have the opportunity to show success through industry certification and prepare them to move forward, even if it's in the family business or something of that nature. So I don't know that there's a one-size-fit-all, particularly in the students that I serve.
So do you have any like dream programs that you would want to implement if you had all the money and resources allotted to you?
There are several courses, particularly in the college and career ready field, that I don't have, that I would love to add. I mean, if you kind of reach a point where you want to tap into certain things, and we've got some discussion going on to try to increase some of our partnerships with some of our local community members. With us being right here on the Space Coast, we've got quite a relationship with Northrop Grumman as well as Harris, and providing quality individuals that are prepared for stepping into those kind of space-related industry fields. And I'd like to see some more of the career-ready components. I wish that I had time and/or space and/or funding to offer some other things that that I don't currently have, such as maybe an auto mechanics or something of that nature that just would further offer diversity to some of my students. But I'm certainly happy with where I am and what I have to offer currently. And you know, I agree. There's always room for improvement, and dream big and keep striving.
Awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like the programs you have now are already a really good base. So if you had like an infusion of money, it would simply be let's do what we're doing now, but bigger.
Yeah.
Like more of it.
Just offer different variety. I think that you know, there's certainly nothing wrong with the opportunity of selection that I currently have, but I also agree that there may be some people that unfortunately I have students that come to me on occasion that ask me, well, boy, I wish you had this, or I wish you had that. And, you know, we are constantly evolving and trying to make some of these marked improvements and meet the growing needs and diversity of our students that we serve.
There's one philosophy of that. The only way you get choice is if it's strictly a private school, and you need schools to compete on the private market, and that's the only way the students get a choice. Because if the school is bad, the school's just bad, so it needs to shut down, and private schools need to take over. But like, if you give students the opportunity to learn something other than the traditional like teach to the test model, then I think you can get something special. You know.
I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely.
Yep. All right, cool. So that's a show for today. Go to polyspsych.org where you can check out all of the shows that we have so far. You can subscribe on iTunes. We're on iTunes, Podcast Addict, Player FM, and literally every podcast app you can get to. So again, it's your host, Anthony Lindsay.
And Stephanie Marino.
Later.